Where I come from, Salthani, life-givers, if you will, are the most sacred and integral part of a community. For millennia, we have held our women up and kept them safe, only now with genocide on our heels, this isn't always the case. My first memory, I was 6 years old, sitting with my younger sister in the stairwell of our home. We were watching our mom and the man I then called Daddy chasing her. Daddy had a baseball bat and Mommy had a knife, screaming for her life. Years later, I learned that afterwards he dragged her up the stairs by the hair on her head and abused her more ways than one behind their closed bedroom door. All my childhood, I grew accustomed to freezing in fear every time a man raised his voice around me, so much so that one day, when my then boyfriend, my first love, a man who loved and respected me far too much to ever try to hurt me or give me cause to fear him, raised his voice to try and motivate me to do my homework. He didn't do anything wrong, but I was so fearful that I couldn't speak or be touched, I could only cry and try to stop the flashbacks. 1,017. From 1980 to 2012, 1,017 women and girls whose blood flows from this land have gone missing, and the numbers have only increased since. Because my blood is out of these territories, I am 4 times more likely to be murdered than any woman in this room, any woman in this country whose veins do not carry the same shade of red as mine. This year, the RCMP told us that Indigenous women are more likely than any other woman to die at the hands of people categorized as acquaintances, and this category includes friends. A few years ago, when I was 18, my mother confessed she has never truly known who my birth father is. If not the man who walked out on us before I was old enough to remember his face, then is the man who date raped my mother. A man she called friend that night, whom she thought was just making sure she got home safely. She was 20 years old. The shame and guilt riddled in her face riddled her unneeded apology. It caused me the most anguish and heartache I have ever felt because I still feel it today. She was conditioned to believe it was her fault, that she should have done something differently or dressed differently, and now over 20 years later, our children are still being taught, don't get raped over don't rape. It's not easy for me to trust men because every time I leave my home, I wonder how many times I will be harassed before I return. Because every time I leave, I fear I won't make it back in safety as my mother had expected herself to, like I haven't always. When I was 20, I was with a man I considered a trusted friend. He had tried to get between my sheets before, but always stopped and respected when I said no, only this time he ensured that couldn't happen. A couple weeks before I turned 21, I met a man at a bar. When I woke the next morning naked, I didn't remember anything beyond talking to him. However, he left his purple and green marks from my eyes to my shins and his bloody boxers on my bedroom floor. It's not easy for me to trust men, so men, please, when I do give you my trust, do not violate it. Let us not grow these statistics. Let's shrink them and kill them. Let's grow stronger together.